And we're going to move downstream. I'll just call your attention to the iron mixed with ice in the riverbed, and we'll take note of the geothermal vents. Notice all the iron and ice. Now, we have an obvious object here, and we're going to take a close look at that. I don't think the Martians use paint, but you can see that it's modeled. The head is colored. There are two lines which suggest a girth strap, and perched on top of the fish there's a disc, and seated on this seat there's a Martian facing away from the camera. Here there's a marine craft or submarine craft, and standing in the open hatch there's a Martian dressed in green right here. There are probably Martians here. This is probably the head of a Martian right here. There's a Martian here. You see this framework. I don't know what purpose it serves, but if this fish is mobile in some sense, then it has been pulled into the enclosure formed by this framework. When we enlarge this image, we find symbols here. And notice the shape of this mouth structure. We find this shape in renderings of fish in medieval art. And similarly, in this version, you can see the symbols, and you can see this structure of the mouth. Now here's the Martian in green, isolated. This is auto contrast, auto tone. And you can see here. In fact, this is kind of a chunky Martian. Maybe middle-aged and overweight. Now when we pull back from the fish, we find this woman right here. And we'll discuss her in just a bit. Over here, you find more Martians. There's one here, one here. There's a large sphere here. Now up here, we have this conical framework here. There's an object here. You can just make out there are stanchions, and they're not placed in a straight line. They're placed kind of irregularly. But the woman has walked up to the final stanchion and not gone past it. So this is a fixed spot for this species to meet and interact with the holographic image of this species. Now, I said in the introduction that I would provide evidence that these guys were in charge. And this is the evidence. This is not the woman's left arm. There's an object here with something of a face and an open mouth. And there's a pipe coming out. It makes a right angle bend here and goes into the ground. So the woman's left shoulder and back come down here, and this is part of a long pipe. Now here we see her right arm. Her right hand is bent back from the wrist, and just beyond the edge of her face you can see her left hand. So both of her arms are stretched out toward this figure. So as I see this image, we have a subordinate or inferior, imploring, beseeching, maybe even worshiping this figure. Perhaps she's there to make a petition. Behind the image, there's a structure and there's an opening. And I think probably from this opening, this image is being projected. You might wonder, is the woman also a holographic image? And the answer is no, and I'll show you why. There's the woman. Now you can see other forms here. And right here is the vehicle she arrived in. And you can see this vehicle. It's like the speeder in Star Wars. It appears to be hovering above the ground. You can see the shadow beneath it. There appear to be 2 or 3 Martians right here waiting for her. And there's something here sticking up out of the middle of this craft or this vehicle. But do you remember the shape? We saw a craft with a nose just like this in chapter 1. Well, here we have an entire craft. And this is the area where the driver sits. So she arrived in this, and she had to walk down to where she is. To talk to this guy. And here we have just the woman isolated. And you can see the holographic image. Big head, big-eyed Martian wearing a blue top. The eyes don't appear to be individual. He's got a band over his eyes like sunglasses, I think. And we've seen this before also. The woman is wearing a dress of fine material. It's a light material. You can see that she has a dark bra, and she's wearing white underpants. She's hairless. But she is one of the more human-looking Martians. So this will conclude Chapter 4.